Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today. We got another interview. This time it's for Borderlands 3. I'm joined by two wonderful guests. Would both of you kindly introduce yourselves?
My name is Danny Homan, and I am the co-lead writer of Borderlands 3.
My name is Sam Winkler, and I am the also co-lead writer of Borderlands 3.
Right, so we got some story guys here, and naturally, I have some story questions prepared for you guys. So let's get right into it. One of the biggest surprises with Borderlands, I think, was that it did pack a good story, because the first one, you set an interesting universe. The second one comes in, kind of blows our minds. You're like, well, I played this game for just shooting and looting. All of a sudden, there's a great story, a bunch of amazing characters, a lot of development here. So my question is, when it comes to Borderlands 3, how do you guys... The expectations are already set now. I think 2 had a little bit of a edge because, there weren't the story expectations. At least I didn't have them. But with 3, you got those expectations. So how do you try to exceed them?
I mean, first of all, for fans of Borderlands, we're going to different planets, right? We're not on Pandora anymore. So we're going to see quite a few new planets, and they're all freaking crazy and weird in their own right.
Yeah, and for fans who played Borderlands 2 and loved Handsome Jack and this charismatic villain, that was something we were thinking about the entire time during development. So when we brought the Calypsos to life, we wanted to make sure they were fresh and relevant, and these snarky new media asshole cult leaders.
Yeah.
It felt very natural and relevant to like modern gaming.
Right, yeah, and that's actually where my second question would come in, because
Sure.
when I got a brief introduction, I finished the prologue section for the Calypso twins, and they're very internet-based. They're like, hey, let's steal Lilith's powers, let's film it, let's record it, let's post it.
And content,
exactly, right? So, was a lot of that inspired by just real-life stuff, or were you just like, this would be kind of a quirky thing to really separate this set of villains from the rest?
Well, it started out with this like really kind of weird puzzle, which is like we knew we wanted the bandits to be like kind of center stage and being this like army unto themselves. And like if you played past Borderlands, like the bandits, like they can't organize a shoe, like they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like
they don't have an HR department.
Yeah, all they do they're murdering for pleasure and for survival.
Yeah.
And so we were thinking like, well, what kind of villains could actually like understand them and then kind of put them together into one cohesive unit? And it was the Calypso twins who like they look at their murdering and their pillaging and they go, I love it, it's content, let's share it, let's lift it up, and let's like grow this family.
Yeah, and in previous enemies in Borderlands games had been these sort of titanic mega corporations, either the Faceless Atlas Corporation or Handsome Jack, as I said before, and so we kind of want to turn that on its head and have this like crowdsourced psycho army coming up from the depths and wedging themselves into this world in which normally you have to be a corporation in which to get anywhere.
Right. I noticed one thing too is that there was a little bit more face-to-face connections with the Calypso twins early on, but it also kind of works. Did you guys twist it in this way where we want them to be internet based because they're always going to be talking to us through the Echo Net, so it kind of works in that manner, and it fuels the narrative, but it allows other people to get some screen time too? Is that part of the plan?
You got the Echo, right? So it's this ubiquitous technology where you can just reach out to anyone. Anyone can reach out to you instantaneously.
For better or worse.
You got to figure some villains are going to come along. They're going to leverage that to their advantage.
Yeah, they're just calling you, "What's up, idiots?" And they're recording that. Like they're just going to replay it over and remix it.
Right. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was the humor, the story that's set there. I think a lot of people nowadays will always be a little concerned with storytelling just because, and we're not getting political here when I say it, but of course, we have a tendency to see people get offended over stuff. Borderlands, I would say, I don't think they go to the edgy side of things. They're more so like darkish humor. And I just want to know, did you guys have to dance around this carefully at all, or were you just like, let's just tell our story, man?
Comedy's best when it brings people together.
Right.
We're never trying to punch down, and we want to make sure that as many people can play Borderlands and see themselves in it, and feel like they're welcomed into that space. So I guess we just try not to be too mean in our humor, but like I think there's a lot of very punchable targets in our game. Poor Reese. He can't have nice things.
I saw the propaganda of him on the wall.
Yeah, he's having a rough time. But like, to answer your broader question, like, I think what makes Borderlands 3 new and fresh is that we have a much wider writing team, and thus we have a much wider definition of what we find to be funny.
Gotcha.
Danny and I have very different comedic styles, and we're constantly trying to make each other laugh.
Okay.
And so that's what we ended up putting in there.
So let's get into what your guys' style of humor is then.
I don't know if I can define the style. I just know that, like, I love really dark humor that makes you just go, oh my god, how far did we go there? But then there's also side missions in this game that are like kind of more lighthearted. There's side missions that like might even make you cry. Who knows?
Boy.
And there's just kind of everything in between. And I think that's where Borderlands has its charm, where it's just like there's kind of humor for pretty much everybody.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of like weird Twitter and new media humor and this sort of absurdist Dada stuff.
Memes?
So I'm not really plugged into the meme world.
Okay.
In fact, none of us really are. So
right.
I know there's this expectation of what Borderlands humor is, but like we actually had a point in which like we were doing truth testing where one of the testers actually had to inform us that we had made a meme without realizing it. So we're like, oh, okay, damn it, all right, we made that work. One of the cool things about comedy is you can use it to disarm people, and I think anyone who's played sort of the Tina DLC in Borderlands 2 can see like, oh, it's so wacky and fun, she's changing everything, and see that there's this like darkness underneath, and so I love playing with the expectations and subverting them.
The thing about Borderlands is like the comedy will always have an edge to it because the universe is so hard. Like it's so difficult to live in. Any planet in the Borderlands is terrible in its own way, right?
Right,
so,
you get that feeling.
If so many of the characters you meet, like on Pandora or elsewhere, it's like they're just trying to survive, and they've seen some dark shit. And so, like, when you live that kind of life and you, like, shot someone before breakfast, like, man, it's like the humor has to reflect that, right?
Right. Yeah, so you mentioned side quests, that can make you cry, and in the story, like I said, in 2, really pick things up. So speaking of the humor, alongside such a great story, how do you guys toe that line where it's like, okay, this is a time to be serious and this is a time to make people laugh? Because that's one of, like you said, it's the charm of Borderlands, right? Like, it's that back and forth, but that's not just something that happens. That's something you have to at least try to tune in. So how do you guys try to balance that a little bit?
I mean, comedy and tragedy, they're friends and enemies, right? Like,
right.
To set someone up for the greatest tragedy, like, you have them laughing up until that moment where they feel the story take kind of a serious turn. And likewise, you get too much of a serious story and you need that laughter because, like, laughter, like, helps you release. It's catharsis, right?
Yeah, we're constantly both zooming in and zooming out and seeing, okay, this moment, this is pure, we know we want that. Where does it live in the framework? Like, Borderlands 3 is a huge game, so
I can tell.
Yeah, exactly.
It took me forever to get through the prologue.
Yeah,
I think it's the last one they get done.
Yeah, you've seen a splinter of it. And it's really cool to be able to fill that world with all these kind of wonderful, weird moments, and through development, stuff moves around, and you have to like adjust the pacing and stuff like that. But I mean, one of the benefits that we've done is we've kind of made that a la carte. Like, alongside the plot mission, you can do the side missions at any time. Maybe you're like, oh, this is getting a little too heavy. I kind of want to go shoot a cheeseburger gun for a while and just like let off.
That was nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that being said, too, in a lot of these quests, you're meeting someone new, every single time. There's this certain revolving door of characters, really, and so I want to know, what do you guys do as writers to try to make each one stand out? But then you have the main ones at the tippy top that also stand out. Like, it's such a fascinating game series in its own right because like it's just like everything's a highlight. But yeah, you can tell like, okay, this is the main guy, right? So how do you guys try to separate those when you create them?
I mean, part of the fun of Borderlands is that like you have this amount of choice to follow the main mission, to follow side missions, to do crew challenges, to just explore. And so like when we were sitting down to write a new character or like to start a new mission, it's like, how do we drag the player and go, you have to play this mission, this is the one, and so it's like they're the characters, they kind of pitch their own missions. They're like, would you like to do this thing? This is player fantasy, are you in?
Yeah, every time in a script we write that first line of like, here's why you want to do this. Really what we're saying is to the mission designers, here's why you want to make that mission. But I mean, when we were first looking at what the cast of Borderlands 3 would be, we were looking at the franchise as a whole, and there are so many incredible, like, vibrant characters that, like, each one of them has their own fan base, right?
Gotcha.
And, like, we've heard from a lot of fans going, where's this person? Are they still okay? I want to make sure.
I'm sure people are talking about Axton.
I've
seen that one a lot.
Axton, Salvador, all that. Especially the playable characters. A lot of people have questions. But we wanted to make sure that if we're going to bring someone back, that it was meaningful, that we could show that they had changed or evolved, and that the story itself would change them, and that they could be having a meaningful connection to the player and the
like
world.
What 2 did to 1 sort of. You took those playable characters, brought them forward.
Yeah, it's not like an Avengers movie where you can pay someone $50,000, they show up for a day on set, and it's like, hi, here's my line, and people are like, I'm glad I saw that character. It's you gotta make it worthwhile. And so one thing I will say to the viewers, listeners, is one, we're never gonna kill a beloved character off screen.
Okay,
I promise you that.
Huge news there.
Yeah. 2, there are a lot of returning characters that we'll see again. Even if it's not in the main Borderlands 3 game, we have 4 large story campaign DLCs that we're bringing after the game launches.
So it might not be in like the main game. Might be after. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to bring some familiar faces back.
Okay. All right. Cool. One other thing, probably the last question I've got for you guys is, I feel like each Borderlands game had their own sort of tone in a way. Like we could identify the series with a sense of personality, but I felt 2 was a little more, I guess, sarcastic in your face. Do you guys feel like 3 is a separate tone from 2, or you guys taking a little more inspiration from that, or is, I guess, 3 its own being?
I mean, it is its own being, because like we have both people who have worked on Borderlands since the very beginning on the team, and then we have like newcomers like Sam and I, and that's the fun of Borderlands, is like there's some old wisdom, there's some kind of new experimentation,
and new ideas.
It all comes together.
Yeah, there's like 300 people in the Gearbox building, and with it 300 definitions of what Borderlands is, right? So I think everyone's going to see their own facet of it.
Okay. Perfect. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for the entertaining interviews.
Absolutely.
This is definitely my favorite I've done. I'm not even just saying that.
Okay, good.
So you guys have been excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks for taking the time.
Really appreciate that. And I will catch you guys next time. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace. Yes, that is my outro, by the way. I should have warned you guys about that.
I love the call to stay active.
Yeah.
Go jogging. Do a little stretch and walk around the room.
Yeah, it's also like a double meaning, because sometimes I'm like, hey, stay an active viewer. Be a part of what I'm doing here, so it works.
Go.
All right, we'll catch you guys later. Peace out.